wasn't just a big night of fights. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry. Now 3-0 in BKFC.
Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the target. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double check. Who's the king of violence? I am.
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
A futures forecast around the National Football League to start off hour number 2, live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. In our second half an hour, that's when we'll have Mark Zinno join us first for some college football predictions and a look at the Week 0 slate, including the Dublin debut of Florida State and Georgia Tech. And then, of course, we win with Zin, a Major League Baseball map around this Wednesday as well. But we start the RS with a future forecast and focused around the NFL.
We do. And also, as I was going over the items that we are going to be doing research on today, the dates did throw me off because there's a segment coming up that said, you know what? How did I miss the Philadelphia Eagles being NFC favorites right now at this point? And also going over not who's going to win this year's MVP, who's actually going to win next year's MVP as well. So we got the crystal ball today, baby. Let's do it.
Completely agree. I think this is really shoddy work out of our production staff, and it's one of my pet peeves. It's one of my pet peeves in a very, very big way. This will be known as the 2024 NFL season. We will never call it the 2025 NFL season. It's not even the NBA or college basketball that spans 2 calendar years, despite the fact that it does. It is referred only to the 2024 NFL season. So when you see 2025 on the screen, no, we do not have an early look at the odds.
Is it on the graphics?
Next year, it's where the ticket is going to be cashed. Yeah, look, there you go. Look,
I'm telling you, like, you know what's wild about this too? Because it says 2020, like it. Again, like the way your brain works when you bring this up, like you look at and I can't even function like 24 and 25 because it throws me off. Like, was that last year? Was that supposed to be the next year? Even though we know the mistake has been made, your brain still reads it as the wrong year, and it completely kiboshes any argument I want to make because it throws me off every single time I even try to get started.
So listen, Joe Frizo, our producer, is not wrong. Jesse Metzger, who made the graphics, is not wrong. On the FanDuel Sportsbook, it says the 2024-25 AFC Championship or the regular season MVP. And technically, the regular season is even played in a 2025 as Week 8 is that first weekend of January. And, of course, the Super Bowl is in February of 2025, and the postseason is in 2025. But in football terms, we categorize it only as the year it is played. We never, ever ever say the 2023-24 NFL season. It is just the 2023 NFL campaign. That's where Lamar Jackson won his MVP, or now, upcoming, the 2024 NFL season. So Donnie Rightside and I are making a statement here on the early line, and please listen, everybody. We are only calling this year 2024. We don't care about 2025. That is next year. That is how it is properly stated on the early line from here on out. So when you look at the odds as of this moment, it is the prices entering a season with the ticket cash the following year. So on your left, Mahomes was the favorite at a 6-1 number entering last year. On your right, Patrick Mahomes is the 5-1 favorite to win the MVP of this season. Left, last season. Right, this season. Don't worry about the dates on the top. Patrick Mahomes remains the favorite to win the NFL MVP award, DRS, year over year.
Yeah, it's, again, going back and just looking at it, trying to formulate an argument with my brain is not letting me go through this stuff. Like 2024 is last year. I'm like, okay, does that mean, because what I want to actually read this is like
tough.
Holmes to start this season is a 6-1 price, but at the end of this season, he's going to be a 5-1 price at this point. So I understand what I'm getting at is Patrick Mahomes each and every year is probably going to be the favorite to start and finish the season. But just seeing it like next year, Mahomes also is going to be the favorite to win the MVP. It's really throwing me off, man.
He's gone,
it's just
man.
throwing me off.
You lost him.
It is. My
He's
brain's
gone.
fried. It's gone, man.
This is going to be tough because this is our next three segments. We go to the NFC title odds after this.
Oh, my
We got the
gosh.
AFC.
Jeez,
We got the AFC championship
like, it
odds
should
up next.
I'm telling you, like it's such a simple change, but just the way it reads, it completely throws off your entire mindset of trying to formulate the argument based on, because I'm reading it as like to start the season and then to end the season, there's what his odds are. It's completely throwing me way out of whack, man. It's this.
And I think the biggest difference is we can kind of understand the column on the right because it will be this year and the ticket will be cashed. But these are preseason odds. So preseason 2024 is a little bit difficult to see. Do you think the boys in the back are scrambling right now? You think they're trying to change the dates for upcoming segments?
Here's what I have to do. Like, just in the rundown, like, we have to change the numbers and just don't bring those graphics up. So at least it'll be like, I don't have to, like, because then again, if the graphic pops up, which is a fine graphic in Excel, but if I'm looking at a different number and then the graphic pops up again, the brain is fried at this point. But at least we know that, I guess you could even say, like, last year, this year, and next year, Mahomes will still be the favorite. So you can carry that argument all the way through at this point now. So, yeah, I get it.
It is good. The 2018 and 2022 NFL season MVP, Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson entering last year, which was 2023, was a 16-1 price to win the NFL MVP award, of which he accomplished his second in his National Football League career. He is 15-1 this season. It's still like that might be even more convoluted.
You're making it worse behind this.
It's not it, dude. Joe, it is not it. Go look up the career stats of Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. It will never say that Lamar Jackson won the 2023. I understand. Friezo, we're making a statement here. It is our work. You guys can't hear Joe Friezo over the air, so we're having an on-air argument with our crew behind the scenes. But it is categorized in the way that it is said by our hosts and on the SportsGrid network is the NFL season is 2023. It is not 2023-24. On FanDuel, her name is Corey Goff, and we still call her Coco. So the FanDuel Sportsbook has to be logistically legitimate because then you could argue the legality of winning wagers. For the content nature, we will call last year 2023 and this year 2024. It's all good. We're having fun. Let's try to have a conversation around the odds if we even can. A couple of the biggest changing prices, Donnie, from before last year to where we are entering this year. Aaron Rodgers last year 16-1 entering 2023. Now 25-1 entering the 2024 NFL season. This is an interesting one as well. Justin Fields entering last year for the Chicago Bears, his third NFL season. He was 20-1 to win the NFL MVP. There was that optimism for Fields entering last year. If they could figure things out in the Windy City, that is no longer the case. He is 150-1 and, of course, plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know what's funny about that, too? Because we keep it in Pittsburgh, too. Don't you remember just a couple short years ago, it was Mitchell Trubisky that was the leader in the clubhouse to be the MVP before the season started one year? I mean, it's crazy how you can see those leaps and say, you know what, I think this guy is going to be able to take over. And then remind yourselves at the end of the season or even 2 seasons later, what the heck were we actually thinking Mitchell Trubisky being one of the favorites to be the MVP of the NFL? But that's how you're trying to catch sometimes lightning in a bottle because, of course, it's easy to say. It's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Burrow, it's Herbert, it's Hurts here, but somebody's always going to be a surprise. Like we talked about, quarterbacks for the Houston Texans last year. CJ, unbelievable player. You never thought he was going to be in the MVP race. And in the last month of the season, we were making arguments that he actually could be one of the leaders and be the MVP. So somebody is going to be surprising, no doubt about it.
150-1 was C.J. Stroud's price entering his rookie season in Houston. He now has the third best price to win the NFL MVP award at 10-1. And Stroud is also the favorite, or has the shortest number, to lead the National Football League in passing yards this year. Could we see a second-year player win the MVP award? Perhaps, as the odds makers expect, in 2024's NFL season. This is going to be fun. NFC title odds next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
All right, we can't bury the lead. Let's show the graphic. Let's make sure we can all be on the same page.
I'm not making eye contact right now with my camera because I don't want to see that graphic. I have the right odds in the rundown, and that's the way I'm going with it. I don't want to see any of these graphics.
Yeah, okay. Don't look at the graphics. We'll just have the conversation.
Nope.
We try to do the changing year to year in the preseason of the NFL MVP preseason odds last year and entering this season. If you were listening to the start of hour 2 or watching, it went a little bit haywire. We do the same examination of the NFC Championship odds entering last year and where things stacked up entering this year. Entering last year, the reigning NFC title winners were the Philadelphia Eagles, and the graphic looks beautiful. Jesse and Joe and Matt, great work behind the scenes. Yeah, okay, you're good. The Philadelphia Eagles were the favorites entering last year at plus 330, 70 cents in front of the 49ers. The Vikings had a 12-1 price with some promise of Kirk Cousins after a playoff appearance and a 13-win season in 2022. But now entering 2024, Donnie, the story is really the San Francisco 49ers price in my estimation. Yes, the Lions and the Eagles are tied for that second-best number, but San Francisco was nearly half every other team in the conference. The 49ers enter with a very short price of plus 300.
And it does make some sense because when you're looking from last year into this year, the Eagles were the favorites coming off the Super Bowl championship. Now, whether there's going to be a hangover, we didn't know about that. There was no hangover technically, as the Eagles were 10-1, maybe the best team record-wise, at least, in football last year. Then we saw the 49ers actually being the better team. Focus on this year now, the question marks that come up, because you're still seeing some of the same teams come up in that top 5, but the 49ers, you're at a 3-1 price, I do think makes a lot of sense. We're expecting really big things out of the Lions, and the Eagles also to be competent, and then the Packers with Jordan Love and the Cowboys. You get the picture here. Primarily the same sort of teams that we were looking at in 2023. But if we are saying, well, what's the difference? Why were the Eagles last year a plus 330 price and this year now sitting at a plus 550 price? The reason being is the question marks are up here. The 49ers don't have nearly the same amount of question marks right now than the Philadelphia Eagles do. 2 new coordinators here, basically a brand new defense. How are they going to gel together? So it makes sense to me that from last year to this year, you're flip-flopping with the Eagles and the 49ers, and I agree with that. I do.
Yeah, I would as well. Do I think there should be a $2.50 gap for the 49ers in front of teams? Not necessarily, but when you look at proven pedigree, San Francisco having the opportunity to cash even a relatively short number of 3-1 is going to be there. The 49ers have made 4 of the last 5 NFC championship games. The Lions were there a season ago, the Eagles the year prior to that, but it was Detroit's first appearance in the NFC title game last year in more than 3 decades, and the Eagles had a large drop-off following 2022. DRS, as we look at the NFC championship odds from this season, the Packers last year, 20-1. Kind of came out of nowhere. New quarterback in Jordan Love, rallying down the stretch to earn a playoff berth, and then pulled off the upset at the Star. They won 6 of their last 8 games, and that upset over Super Wild Card Weekend over Dallas. Now the Packers and the Cowboys tied for the 4th best price at 8-1. Of those 2 numbers to round out the top 5, which one do you believe is a better bet?
It's such a tough one. It really is. And maybe you could probably say if it's just between the Packers and the Cowboys, it would be the Cowboys. You say, well, that's crazy. I thought you weren't all that high. It's just who you're up against on a week-to-week basis and how you can win. Let's take a look at all 5 of those teams, Ben, on the graphic. What's the difference here? You see the 49ers sitting up top. The rest of the 4 teams, nobody's in the NFC West, which means there's an easier pathway to victory, what the odds makers are looking for the 49ers, which could lead to home field advantage throughout the playoffs. You take a look at the Lions and the Packers. They're going to do battle all season long just to win that division. Somebody's got to win it. Somebody's going to lose it, which makes that pathway harder. Same thing with the Eagles and the Cowboys. Somebody's going to win it. Somebody's going to lose it. But what we're factoring in here based on the odds is the 49ers aren't going to get that push. So worst case scenario, maybe they don't get the number 1 overall seed. Maybe they get number 2. But we do know they're going to have a home playoff game, which we can't guarantee for the other 2 football teams that are listed there with those wild card weekend games, which they might have to be winding up in. So I do find it interesting that way. But for me, that's why I said the Cowboys. And again, oh, Donnie, how could you do that? You're an Eagles fan. Forget about that. It's irrelevant who your fandom is. If we're looking at going into the season with question marks, the Eagles have it and the Cowboys have it, no doubt. I just think the Detroit Lions might be a stronger presence than the Packers, which would hold them back a little bit. But we'll know first month of the season, first month and a half, once we get to the quarter poll, where we stand. But that's just my opinion. The 49ers deserve to be up top because I think their pathway to victory in the division is the easiest out of the remaining 4 teams that are going to be fighting with each other.
The 5 best numbers to win the NFC this year. It's the NFC West San Francisco 49ers, and then the 4 other teams, 2 from the NFC North, the Lions and the Packers, and 2 from a same division as well, the Eagles and the Cowboys, out of the NFC East. Donnie, when we think about last year and how the playoffs came to be, I find it a really fascinating conversation because what is a good bet with a conference championship number, a ticket that will not be cashed until late January of 2025. What I find to really be the conversation is, did it provide you value? Did it give you a cash out or middling option as you get throughout the postseason? It's why I would never bet the Cowboys price at an 8-1 number to win the NFC, because they can't even reach the game that would allow them to even have the opportunity to cash the ticket. That's the NFC Championship. That's my stance. I am not changing it. But think about the teams that were almost there a year ago. The Packers out of nowhere, 20-1 in the preseason. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had the third best price to win the NFC South, won the division for a third consecutive year and played the Lions in that NFC divisional round. The best price out of the NFC South is the odds-on favorites in that division, the Atlanta Falcons. Their number is 11-1 to win the NFC title. Is it worth a wager?
It could be worth a wager on that, too, because you're looking at and trying to progress. Same thing I talked about the San Francisco 49ers here, Ben. Who has the easiest path, do you believe, to win that division? Because that guarantees you're in the playoffs and with a home game, at least one of those, once you get there.
Yep.
And I do think in the NFC South, I'm more willing to take a flyer on Atlanta because I'm expecting to have a big season at Kirk Cousins. But at the same time, I'm not saying this year, ooh, man, the Saints are going to be really tough for the Buccaneers. Didn't you see them last year? They won the division and a playoff game. They're unbelievable this year. I don't believe that. I actually do think the best team in the NFC South is the Atlanta Falcons, and that's the wager I'd be willing to take out of those teams.
Yeah, the Falcons, a -120 favorite to win the NFC South. You can always paint a path, and you can correlate numbers, especially right now in the preseason, of all the future bets you can make. Win total, divisional price, conference championship number, if you believe in an organization. From the NFC to the AFC next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
To the AFC we go now, where there was a big three entering last year, and it's slightly changed entering 2024. Donnie, there was a thought that the Chiefs, the Bills, what is he doing?
Check some things out right there. Yeah. What do you got? What do you got? What, I can't check something out? Well, I'm trying to set up the
I
next
don't
segment.
know, man.
Oh.
You just lunged across your camera. I was like, do you know that we're live?
I had to send a tweet out here to the people because of what was going on from the last segment. So got to set the people straight here with graphics. You know what I mean? We're a digital show. You got to be digital.
Okay, I love it. All right. Anyway, as we look at the odds from where we were entering last year to where we are entering this year, that's 2023 last year, 2024 this year, there was that big three component. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, the three teams that had been flirting with conference championships the last 3 years, really 3-4 years in the AFC. The Chiefs were the favorites then. The Chiefs have the same exact number now at plus 350. And frankly, how could you bet against Kansas City? There's not a miss AFC championship game number that is available. It would just be not betting that short price of plus 350. But in all 6 years that Patrick Mahomes has been the starting quarterback in Kansas City, the Chiefs have made it to the AFC championship game in 4 of those 6 years. They have won a conference championship in 3 of those 4. They have won a Lombardi trophy. So KC still stands tall atop the AFC championship odds.
And there should be. And I say this, and you're not supposed to be this as an independent handicapper and try to think about what's going to take place this season as opposed to what happened in the past. But I still can't get around this. That Chiefs run last year on probably their least talented team that they had was the most impressive. So now I'm looking at the Chiefs this season as being more talented than last year and beat the Miami Dolphins at home, which, again, the Dolphins were banged up. That game was like minus 35 degrees. But then you go on the road to Buffalo, on the road to the Buffalo, Baltimore, and then beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Like, why not? Like, why isn't that price? I probably would bite on bet a minus 350 price for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. That's how much confidence I just have is Mahomes playing today? Yeah, they're better. Well, wait, Donnie. The other team has better running backs, better wide receivers, better linemen, and a better defense. I don't care. One team has Patrick Mahomes. That's the only thing that matters. So you see 2023 and now 2024. I completely agree. Until Patrick Mahomes and or Andy Reid is out of football, they will be the favorite every single year. Why? Because they have the best player on the planet and the best coach for him, and that's all that matters. If my quarterback is so much better than yours, it doesn't matter who's on your defense whatsoever. He's going to score, and he's going to win.
So, DRS, even with Kansas City being the favorite, incorrectly so, even if you think KC comes up a little bit short from whatever your standard is, you are still trying to select that second team that would play the Chiefs in an AFC title game. In your mind, who is that team most likely going to be in 2024?
Because, again, there's quality teams, understandably, in the AFC with legitimate chances to win. If we do remove the Chiefs from that equation, say who's going to battle them for supremacy in the AFC, you look at the odds coming into this year. The Ravens plus 550. They'll be there at the end. They're a double-digit win football team. Lamar is sensational in the regular season. So maybe they wind up and rematch them in the AFC championship game. If I'm going a little bit far down the list, maybe it is the Texans. And I don't want to buy into the hype too quickly, but even from what I'm seeing at a preseason camp and also the games itself, C.J. Stroud looks like he's so far ahead of the game already with a better football team around him than he had last year. Why not? It's not too soon maybe to buy in on the Texans because that talent looks like on a week-to-week basis, they're going to be hell on wheels. Maybe it is the Texans at an 8-1 price challenging the Chiefs for supremacy in the AFC.
There was always a surprise, though. And Houston was that AFC South champ that won a playoff game a season ago. And the Texans entered 2023 with a rookie head coach in DeMeco Ryans and a rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud with the longest price to win the AFC. 16th out of 16 teams in the conference, 85-1. Now an 8-1 number, that is fifth best. How about Aaron Rodgers in the New York Jets? Last year, fifth best number at 10-1. And despite the non-successful season in 2023 that came crashing to a halt week number 1. The Jets' price is actually shorter entering this year, although not making the top 5, only 50 cents back of Houston at plus 850.
I think they're a better team this year, Ben. You know what I mean? For the Jets, I think they made some moves, solidify that wide receiver position. Running backs coming back healthy this year. Aaron Rodgers hopefully can stand up under center. The only question mark for the Jets is how that offensive line is going to mesh. The rest of that football team, it's really good, and they'll be fun to watch this year, including game number 1 against the Niners.
Dates are much easier in college football. The entirety of the regular season is played in the same calendar year. So we talk about the start of the 2024 regular season next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
College football is just 4 days away. It's the Irish opener and the Dublin debut between 10th-ranked Florida State and Georgia Tech, an ACC affair over in Ireland. To help get you set, it is almost, and I mean almost, we are just 1 week away from Mouth in the South season. That is Mark Zinno. Technically not Mouth in the South, although Florida State, Georgia Tech, and SMU hail from the southern part of the United States, but Mouth in the South is the SEC expertise out of Mark Zinno. But we get you ready for college football nonetheless, as we are just 4 days away from the start of 2024. Zinno, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here on this Wednesday to forecast week 0 on the early line.
Does this look like the face and the smile of a guy who's ready for college football to be here? Because baseball, I've just had enough. I'm so ready to start looking at football, especially after the Twins bullpen last. Yeah.
Listen, I was going to ask, Zinno, you didn't seem all that happy in the commercial break to be joining Donnie and myself. I was wondering what the reason was. Is it because the week 0 slate's a little bit lackluster? Or did you stay up all night last night for all 4 hours and 5 minutes and the 12 innings to see your Yankees lose?
No, well, I mean, I knew that was a fait accompli as soon as that game started. And as soon as they got to the extra innings, I knew they were in trouble. So, and when you only score 3 runs in 9 innings, which the Yankees have done repeatedly over the last 3 games, it didn't feel good going into it. So part of me is actually hoping the Yankees blow it and Boone gets fired, because that would be the best Christmas present I could have.
How about that?
Listen, we're going Major League Map with Mark Zinno up next to round out this second half hour of hour 2. So let's start with fun things, and that's college football on the horizon. The Irish opener between 10th-ranked Florida State and Georgia Tech. And Zinno, one of the stories entering this ACC showdown in Dublin has been the line movement we have seen over the past week or so. 13.5 at open in favor of FSU. It's down by a full field goal, only 10.5 points in favor of the Noles, the 10th ranked team nationally in the AP preseason poll. So, what do you attribute this substantial line movement to?
Is it Alex Atkins, the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, not being able to be on the sidelines because he's serving a suspension? Is it believing in Haynes King and this Georgia Tech offense and a revamped sort of Georgia Tech look? I don't know. Is it the fact that along with the offense coordinator not being there, you have a new quarterback and you're going overseas and the travel and all those things? But guys, the line movement here to me is peculiar. But don't be surprised to see some buyback as we get closer to the weekend on Florida State. I'm curious to see if we hit the bottom of the market here with this number at 10.5, and it's going to start to go back in the other direction. I mean, if a 10 popped up, I would grab it immediately. I'm on Florida State. I'm on Florida State the whole way. I think this is playable to Florida State minus 13.5. Guys, Georgia Tech last year, okay, out of 130 college football teams, their total defense was ranked 120th. Out of 130 total college football teams, their run defense was ranked 128th in the nation. Now, I understand that they have hired Tyler Santucci from Duke, and Duke had the best defense in the ACC last year. But you know what he didn't bring with him? The players. He hasn't been able to recruit anybody. He hasn't been able to, bring people in to play in this defense. Like, even if Georgia Tech's defense, let's just call it, is better, are they still one of the 30, 40 worst defenses in the country? Yes. Like, I mean, are we really assuming that Florida State doesn't have just better horses in the barn at this point in time to go out and beat him? And it's Haynes King. I mean, I think Haynes King is talented. I think he's done well for Georgia Tech, but he's still a little mistake prone. I mean, there's enough here for me to go back to Seminoles. I'm not really scared by the line movement. Feels like a gift. It could be an overreaction. And when you talk about 3 points from the opening line of 13.5, you're probably getting some good value here on Florida State. I'm going to take it. I don't think I'll wait for a 10. It's not going to matter at that point. I'm going to need 11 anyway. So I think the Seminoles are the right side here. I think their defensive front is still intact and still very good. And I'm not worried about Georgia Tech. Their defense, I don't think is going to be able to slow down the offense in their run game and the transfer from Alabama.
Mark, as Ben would say on a day-to-day basis, he's worried about the fragility here of the Florida State players and their coaching staff for getting hammered in the Orange Bowl last year by 60 points. I tend to set that aside here when taking a look at this game. So if we are, how do you get ready for this game as a handicapper? Overseas, two teams playing an ACC opener in Dublin. Is there any advantages or disadvantages? Because is that why people are just saying, let me lean towards the points because it's overseas and technically we don't know what we're getting out of Florida State?
I mean, that and, I guess the travel, from what I understand, too, the weather isn't supposed to be bad. Like, you're looking at the weather reports, doesn't look like it's going to rain. The weather may be favorable, and that may help Georgia Tech out a little bit as far as, not having to force the run issue so much. So I think there's that. And look, which coaching staff do you truly trust more? I guess is what it boils down to. It doesn't matter that Alex Atkins isn't coaching this game. You've had 3 or 4 weeks to get ready for this game. Like, I still trust Mike Norvell in Florida State a lot more than Brent Key and Georgia Tech, and that's not a slight on Brent Key. They just, again, this is a more experienced team with flat-out better athletes. I know Georgia Tech has taken care of Florida State in the past couple of meetings. They've been able to upset them and play well against them, but none of that matters in this spot here. It's different players, different everything. So, again, I just have to look objectively at the rosters and the players and trust that Florida State has better horses in the barn, and that the travel won't affect it because guess what? Both teams are traveling. It should affect both of them equally in theory.
The Yellow Jackets 7-2 against the spread as an underdog last year, maybe influencing how the betting public is looking at this game. I think as the number continues to come down, you're getting some ripe opportunities on the Noles. Elsewhere on the Week 0 Saturday slate. Again, not the most illustrious or robust we have seen in years past, but still, it's college football. Also, speaking of line movement, SMU was a 27.5-point favorite against Nevada. That line now down to 25 and a hook. The Wolfpack have only won 2 games each of the past 2 college football seasons, and Rhett Lashley and the Stangs coming off an 11-win in AAC championship season a year ago. Now an ACC school is SMU. Of the other games on week 0, what gets your attention the most?
I mean, SMU's team total is a direction I would look in, especially with this number coming down. Hey, remember how bad Georgia Tech's defense was last year? Total defense 120th. You know who had a worse defense than Georgia Tech last year? Nevada. And this is a passing offense from SMU with Preston Stone, 28 touchdowns last year, 6 picks, returning all 7 top receivers to this offense. This is a fast-paced offense here that the Mustangs are bringing into the ACC. This is a spot here where, again, I'm not 100% sold on the SMU defense per se, but I can look at this offense and go, I don't think they should have a problem scoring points here and getting to 40 against Nevada. It will be a little bit nerve-wracking, but this isn't their first ACC game yet. That's a different conversation when they step up. Nevada's sort of in the same class, and I think that SMU is just a notch better than Nevada at this point.
By the way, Del State, Hawaii, 40.5 points it's up to now at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And also, I did see yesterday a couple of people retweeting around that Delaware State had missed their plane out to Hawaii. So already some scheduling snafus in what's expected to be a blowout. That's neither here nor there. If we do look at the championship national odds here, Georgia at a plus 280 price. Is it going to be SEC here that reigns king at the end of the season here, Mark?
I mean, if you're looking at Texas and Alabama as well in that mix, it's hard to not think the SEC is the favorite. Even Ole Miss, obviously, with the odds that they have. But I would tend to think it's an SEC's title to lose if we're looking at by conference, unless Oregon has gotten markedly better without Bo Nix this year and the transfer that they have. You know, that could upset the apple cart. They were the other team I'd look at.
4 of the 6 best prices hail from the SEC, 8 of the top 10 from the Big Ten or the SEC as well. It's a new era in college football. Zinno's Major League Map up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
From week 0 of college football to the Major League Baseball season, nearing the end of August with only one more month, that's September, of the regular season left to go, Mark Zinno does it all for us on this Wednesday on the Early Line. Zinno, as you came onto the show, we asked what you were frustrated by. Was it the 12-inning defeat for your Yankees last night to the Cleveland Guardians, where the Guardians scored 6 runs in the top of the 12th? You said not so much. Maybe, hey, if things go haywire for the Yanks, Aaron Boone will finally be let go up in the Bronx. But I do want to ask you from a handicapping perspective about the significance of this game and this series. Again, Cleveland wins 9-5 in 12 innings. You know, with how tightly compact the top of the standings are around the American League in the AL East division for the Yankees against the Orioles, and to claim that number 1 overall seed in the AL, the Guardians now have the advantage there. The Yanks backed by a half game of Baltimore in the American League East. Does it add on any more magnitude or significance to these games the Yankees will play this week at home against Cleveland?
Well, at least it tells you where you stack up against them in your current form, which is closest to the regular season than if they had played these series back in April or May, and teams look totally different. The Yankees, we know, look totally different back in April and May, and the hot start that they got, comparatively speaking, to where they are now. I mean, you know, Cleveland, for all intents and purposes, has been probably the most consistent team outside of Baltimore in baseball this year, as far as where they've gone. They hit a little bit of a lull coming out of the All-Star break, but for the most part, this is a team that has the best bullpen and best closing situation of any team heading to the postseason. And that's the one edge that I would get over them. I've said it repeatedly. Look, the Yankees went into a game against the Tigers on Sunday Night Baseball. Look what Clay Holmes did. He blew a lead, and the Yankees lost the game. That kind of thing that happens in a playoff series will end you. Even if it's just one game, it literally could turn the series around. So with Cleveland having the best closer and the best bullpen, they have a decided edge over everybody else. Even if their bats aren't in great position, they've got good enough starting pitching as well that I believe that this is a real measuring stick for the Yankees as to how close they are to actually getting out of the American League and getting to a World Series, because Cleveland seems to have set the standard. I think the Yankees believe they can hang with Baltimore just because, again, Baltimore has their own bullpen and closer issues, just like the Yankees do. Cleveland isn't facing that scenario.
If we are taking a look at the AL in totality here at the FanDuel Sportsbook, there are 5 teams at a 10-1 price or less to win that AL pennant. That's the Twins, Guardians, Astros, Orioles, and Yankees. Now, up top, obviously, it's the Yankees and the Orioles. But look at the Houston Astros at a plus 430 price. Let me ask this question, Mark. Outside of the Yankees and the Orioles, who right now considered the top dogs, are we trusting the Houston Astros now, a team that I left for dead a month and a half ago, now surging, looks like they're going to win the AL West, but I still can't buy back into the Astros? Do you have a pathway to victory or that you see for the Houston Astros here?
Yeah, I do. And again, I told you guys back in the middle of June, I thought Houston was a great bet to win the AL West. When you look at adding Framber Valdez, first of all, at the top of the rotation, they had Yusei Kikuchi, who has been very good since coming over. Not only that, Hunter Brown and Ronel Blanco have quietly had fantastic seasons. They have the best starting staff, all deference to the Cleveland Guardians, who have been very, very good in the starting pitching role. But they have the best starting depth, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of any pitching team in the American League. They just do. Like that's what their strength is. And obviously, look, if Houston somehow, I don't think they'll be able to snake home field advantage from anybody, but at least in the first couple of rounds getting to the ALCS, guess what? They're going to have home field advantage, a place with a ton of runs. It took them a while to get going, but they've also got the postseason experience. They've also got players who have been through this ringer several times before.
Yeah.
You know what? The Guardians and the Yankees and the Orioles don't have a lot of deep postseason experience because guess what? They haven't gotten there. So from that standpoint, these are teams that are all kind of chasing Houston down as far as, trying to be a team that can upset the apple cart for them to win the World Series. Texas pulled it off last year, but I don't think any of these teams, I wouldn't bet any of these teams head-to-head in Houston in the ALCS right now.
Interesting. And I would wonder to see if Houston made it to an 8th consecutive ALCS appearance, what would their odds be at that stage? That's where the Astros have been, and we'll see the addition to some depth in that starting rotation as Justin Verlander makes his return today. He was sidelined since the early parts of June. Now let's flip it over to the National League. Also making his return to the bump yesterday, that was Reynaldo Lopez for Atlanta. He had not pitched since the end of July in his first outing since. 5 innings of work, only allowing a single earned run to the Phils, striking out 10. The Braves win the opener of their midweek set against their divisional foe in Philadelphia, 3-1 the victory for the Braves at home. Zinno, I asked you about significance of these games. Yes, in a regular season set, even deeper into the season for the matchup with the Yankees and the Guardians in the American League. It's not necessarily the significance of the result yesterday for Atlanta as a whole, but how important was it to get Reynaldo Lopez back looking as he did?
It's got to feel good for the Braves to at least be able to take one from the Phillies and not get swept, and at least at a minimum, they know they'll only lose one game in the standings if the Phillies end up taking the other two. But, look, the Braves are a mash unit. They're a dead man walking right now. The only thing hurt more than the Braves is my bankroll and my feelings after getting dumped in 12th grade by Christine. So, at this point, the Braves are the only thing still walking that is representing a major league team that's not really a major league team. I mean, they just don't have – their opening day lineup to now, guys, is a joke. Like, it's literally nothing the same. So they're going to make the playoffs because, again, I just don't think that there's anybody there who could take it away from them when it comes down to it. But everybody in Atlanta right now is kind of thrown in the towel that this team has any real chance to do anything.
Yeah, the Braves, a 2.5-game lead over the New York Mets for that third and final National League wild card spot. It was just a game and a half yesterday, but the Mets lost to Baltimore and the Braves get a big win over Philadelphia. The Braves still the third best price in the National League pennant chase. The Dodgers the favorites at plus 160. The Phils less than $1 behind at plus 250. Quickly, Zinno, I would assume that you would rather bet on the Padres, the Brewers perhaps, maybe even the Diamondbacks rather than Atlanta.
I locked in the Padres last week to win the NL and the World Series. It's the hottest team in baseball right now. I'm not going to turn my back on them, even though I bet against them last night. It didn't go well, so at least we're trending in the right direction both ways.
Yeah, a victory over Minnesota last night, courtesy of Jurickson Profar in a big 8th inning. The Padres have won 13 of their last 16. We'll preview some games on this Wednesday next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
A full Wednesday card around Major League Baseball, including some day games and the return of one Justin Verlander for Houston. Mark Zinno here for a third consecutive segment to round out hour number 2 with some MLB breakdowns on this Wednesday. We start in H-Town.
Probably only going to go 3 or 4 innings, right? Like, you just know he's not going to be pushed too hard when he comes with his first start back. So it'll be about the Astros bats and can they get to Cooper Criswell, which is quite the name. But beyond that, if Verlander can, take care of business here early on, you also have to trust the fact that the Astros bullpen, which is good, one of the better ones in baseball when it comes to ERA and WHIP, should be able to take care of business the rest of the way out. If the Red Sox don't score early against Verlander, don't like their chances here.
Take a look at a late night game tonight, 10-10 first pitch, 9:29, 9:30 the rotation. That's Seattle and Los Angeles. Gilbert versus Flaherty. Heavy favorite here for the Dodgers, minus 178 currently at the FanDuel Sportsbook, and a total of 7.5. When I look at these two teams latch up and I say to myself, look at that, another quality pitcher on the mound for the Seattle Mariners, and it almost doesn't matter who the pitcher on the opposite side is because, Mark, they can't hit the baseball. Tell me about tonight's effort because Flaherty is a marquee starter for the Dodgers, but I just look at that Seattle lineup and say, I don't know if I can trust them to get 3 runs, therefore I don't know how I take them on a day-to-day basis.
And that's the problem. It's impossible to bet on Seattle because their offense is untrustworthy. They're just not a team that you can back. Now, Flaherty hasn't faced the Mariners yet this year, so that probably gives him even a little bit more of an edge with Flaherty on the bump for LA. And since coming over, Flaherty hasn't exactly been fantastic. He gave up 4 runs in 5 2/3 against the Pirates. He gave up 3 runs in 5 innings against Milwaukee in a game that they lost. So maybe you hope that Flaherty not had other great start. It's not a route that I would go. I still tend to think more than that, with Logan on the road where he's a little bit worse. All these Seattle pitchers are worse on the road than they are at home at AT&T, Safeco, whatever it's called now, T-Mobile. I forget which phone runs that park. But anyway, so the idea that Seattle is a team to back. Look, again, back them first 5, right? Because at this rate, if they're not scoring early, they're not scoring late. And that's just the reality of it. Why sweat it out for 9 innings? If they can't lead after 5 and keep the push in your back pocket, then why even worry about it?
The Dodgers looking for a sweep and heavily favored to do so. Jack Flaherty in his first outing for LA, 6 innings of shutout baseball. In his last 2, he has allowed 7 earned runs. The Dodgers have won 2 of the 3 that Flaherty has started for them in Los Angeles. That's the last game on the card tonight. Late night in Los Angeles. The first game up is the rubber match of this midweek series between Baltimore and New York. The Mets play host to the Orioles as a slight home favorite once again. The Amazons have actually been favored at home, and now all 3 of the games in this series against Baltimore, they won game 1, walk-off courtesy of Francisco Alvarez. Yesterday, Baltimore responds, plating 9 in a 9-5 victory. So, Zinno, who takes the rubber match with some day baseball up in Queens?
Sean Manaea is on the mound, who looks like a human Cabbage Patch doll, and the Orioles hit lefty pitching very well. And that's sort of the problem here for Manaea, who has been able to take care of teams that don't hit lefties well, but the Orioles do hit lefties well. The problem for the Orioles is that Cole Irvin is starting, making a start for the first time, I think in a while now it's been for him. But the Orioles starting pitching continues to be a little bit more perplexing. Now Zach Eflin goes on the DL here. I told you they've got bullpen issues. I don't like the spot for the Orioles here. It's fun to take them as a dog, though. I'll tell you that much. I mean, they're much more amenable to take as a dog and hope their offense comes through. But I just don't see it happening for them. And Cole Irvin, they've lost 7 consecutive starts with him on the mound this year. His team has. So, again, it's one of those spots where, do you trust Cole Irvin here in a spot-start situation to be able to get this done? And I just don't know that you do.
Baltimore, one of 7 teams around the bigs that has a winning record straight up as an underdog. They are 14-12, including the victory last night, 9-5 over New York. Mark Zinno, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here on this Wednesday. Next week, the Mouth in the South is back for some college football conversations. Hour 3 comes your way up next here on SportsGrid.